Hey YouTube, this is take 3 of a video that YouTube has not allowed me to upload for 2 times now. And this is the first video of a series of videos that will discuss the Spanish language. And basically this is the first video in a series that will actually teach the language. And I don't claim to be an expert in the language. It's not my native language. There are millions of native speakers who can speak it much better than I can. But I feel as though, I can speak the language, and why not try to share that knowledge with other people? So this first video will cover primarily the pronunciation of the language, and this video in particular will focus on the main vowels. Spanish has all the same vowels as the English language does, A, E, I, O, and U, or as they're called in Spanish, A, E, O, and U. Now, Spanish also has a number of diphthongs, which are a combination of 2 or more vowels that produce one sound. We also have that in English, but I will get into those diphthongs later, and Spanish also has some pronunciation rules with combinations of vowels and consonants that I won't cover in this video either. So this is just a sort of get your feet wet video on the pronunciation of the Spanish vowels, and it's kind of a get my feet wet video for myself too, because this is the first time I've ever done something like this. So I guess we'll get started. The first vowel is the Spanish A, which looks just like the English A, but it's pronounced A, as in the English word father. So an example in Spanish is this word pan, which means bread, or hasta, which means until, or patatas, which means potatoes. Now, sometimes this letter will take on this schwa-e sound, which makes an sound, but it's not as acute in Spanish as I just pronounced. So, for example, in this word patatas, I'm sure you can hear it, patatas, patatas. It's sort of a blend between the and the sounds, so patatas. The next vowel is this, it looks like the English letter E, but pronounced like eh, and it's in the English word bet, but the E is a shorter sound in Spanish than it is in English. So for example, leche, which means milk, ese, which means that, tres, which means 3, and te, which means tea. The next Spanish vowel is what looks like the English I, and it's pronounced E, as in the English word beat, but it's a shorter sound than in the English word beat. And some examples are the word mi, which means my, si, which means yes, and mira, which means watch or look at. A couple more. We've got what looks like the English O, and in Spanish it's also pronounced O, as in the English word open, and again it's a short sound. So all of the Spanish vowels are short sounds, shorter than their English counterparts. So we have here the Spanish words ojo, which means eye, como, which means how or then, or como can have a variety of meanings based on context, and politica, which means politics. Next we have what looks like the English U, but in Spanish it's pronounced as u. It's sort of like in the English word rule, but it's again a shorter sound. So we have the words tu, which means you, mucho, which means many or much or a lot of, and saludos, which means greetings. And lastly, we have what looks like the English Y, which in Spanish is called Y. And this Y, notice how all of the other vowels said their names, basically. Got A, E, I, O, U, and now Y. But this Y makes the sound just like this E up here. So again, it's like in the English word beat, except it's a shorter sound. And for right now, off the top of my head, there's only one word that I can think of in Spanish that uses this sound, and it's the Spanish word Y, which means Y. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse me. I see the Y there and I say Y. Now this Spanish word Y means and. So even though the letter itself is called Y, we say this sound as I, which means and. So just to review, we've got A like in father, E like in bet, I like in beat, O as in open, U as in rule, and Y as in beat. And words that you can practice if you want are pan, hasta, patatas, leche, ese, tres, te, mi, si, mira, ojo, como, política, tú, mucho, saludos, and y. So that concludes the first part of the three-part lesson on pronunciation, and the next lesson is going to focus on diphthongs and special vowel pronunciation rules, and then the third part of the video will focus on pronunciation of the consonants. So good luck, and I will see you in part 2 of this video. Thanks for listening.